I'm guessing the camera stopped, so I've restarted it again. We'll get another 15 minutes. I'll take a quick photo. And there's some little, too much. Oh, too much. Oh well, serendipity. There's the sense of the heather. Light catching the heather, will soften that edge there. And then there's just a dark spot here. On end. For some reason, these are a little darker there. I'm making my darks, my grays, just with red and green complementary colors, but I'm using a cobalt green and a alizarin crimson, and they work quite nice. Whoops, quite nicely together. There, I'll do there. This might be a time just to move in to get a bit of reflection. I'm gonna get a little darker here, a little redder, but I'm gonna put some viridian green in with the alizarin to capture the. When I look at the reflections, this fog, so the actual reflections are a little bluer and hazier. Aerial perspective. Oh, aerial perspective works. In reflections as well. Oh, too much. I'm working quite small here too, you know, for these little quickie things. There. Now I'll work on these trees. Again, I'm going to go viridian this time, not cobalt green. It's a richer green, more pure bluey green, and alizarin crimson. And you know, gosh, spots is a bit of reddy, browny, sepia, bird sienna in there. So now still a bit of blue in there though. Still got to keep it fairly hazy. So I'm just trying to use the brush to suggest the tip of the brush to suggest the branches, and I'm not worried about getting it exact. You know, I'm just trying to really, like with so much watercolor, just create an impression. And this is pretty hard edge in here. I'd hoped it wouldn't be so, but maybe it's okay. you know, when the water, if you're in a damp, humid conditions, the water dries so much, the paper dries so much slower, and you know, you often have to sit and, you know, relax for a minute, have a cup of tea, cigarette, whatever, and wait for things to dry. You know, but it's a little bit more meditative. Whereas I'm working indoors, so I can film this, and things are. I'm trying to get a little bit of smokiness in there. The fog comes and goes in here. A bit green, a little bit greener in here. And there's a bit of a green tree here. Walk back in. And there is some fairly dark already in there. I'm really just, you know, thinking, adding colors to try and create something similar to what I'm seeing. There's a fairly dark green in here. Bit of red in here. I see there's a rock. That's the thing. There's a, or maybe it's burnt sienna. Chunk of rock in there. Like that. I'm not getting what's there. I'm getting something that suggests it. This is both the nice thing about watercolor and the horror of watercolor is that, you know, there's a danger of becoming so slick with watercolor. It's, you know, it's all about effects. You know, it can become all about, oh yeah, create this effect, create that effect. I don't like, I mean, I like that aspect of it as you get used to it, but it's also slick. It becomes a shtick, and drawing is my favorite thing, not watercolor, because drawing forces you to really, really look. I find, you know, to describe form, and in a way that watercolor doesn't, because it's so easy to. I mean, drawing can become slick too, but there's something very compelling and existential about drawing, which I prefer. But that's not to say I don't really dislike watercolor, because all these abbreviations that watercolor is capable of make it ideal for a sketch medium. You know, to capture the impression of a place. You know, I mean, I really could, if I was sitting here on this lake, the sun's coming up. I only have half an hour, you know, 40 minutes to capture it. The fog lifts, gone, you know, but watercolor, by using these abbreviations, which annoy me somehow, you know, at some level they annoy me, because they are just abbreviations and they can become a shtick. They're also just useful, because how else besides a camera, which is not so good. How else would you, get it? So there we go. Picture here. And now to finish up. I could have had a little bit stronger in there, but I'm not going to worry about it. I could do this thing 10 times, and each time would be completely different. So now I'm going to try and get a sense of the. I need some green. Again, I'm going to go with compost green. I'm going to put in a little bit of cobalt green, and I'm going to use some olive green. I'm going to get some reds. See how I'm kind of putting them around satellite so I can bring them in, as needed. And so the colors here are a lot, and I'll actually add a little bit of blue over here to cool it down. There I am back in the middle. And go. And this foreground heather, mats of heather and stuff, they're problematic. I don't want to draw every little blade of grass. There's a reason, I could, I suppose, draw every blade of grass. People could do that, but you're going to have an inconsistency of style. I actually cover this a bit, I think, in some of the video explainers, how I need the whole style of the thing to integrate. If I start doing, sticks of grass and all that, it's going to look out of place. There's some darker areas here. Again, there's more rock showing, so that's why there's a little bit of burnt sienna and red in here. Okay, I'm going to put a few little bits of something. There's, what's the name of that stuff, that weed? An arum type of plant, water arum. So I have put some in there just to suggest it sticking up. I'm really just trying to create an impression of some of the colors that are laying in here. It seems to warm and cool. Be warm and cool in some spots. It's getting quite dark and cool up here. So alizarin crimson and viridian green. It's one way of creating, I could create almost a black with this. Now I'm going to let that just kind of settle down and dry out a bit, and then I'll come back in and work it. And the final thing I'm going to kind of do is there's a tree, a very dark tree here, protruding, so I'm going to get really dark with that. I'm going to put pure alizarin and pure viridian, and there is some green in it, a little bit of oxide of chromium, and this is, I'm gradually getting darker as I come forward. I'm going to take it up a little higher. So it's, I don't want it to come, I'm really going to take it up a bit higher for compositional reasons. Oh, shoot. Oh, I'm not happy with that. Bad luck. So this is a little dabby. Danger, danger. You know, my alarm bells are going off. I don't want it to be too dabby. Because stylistically it would not match the rest of the painting. But I think that'll be alright. It looks pretty loose and sketchy. Some more of this arum poking up. As it starts to dry, I've missed the opportunity to create some shady areas.